Now that we have understood a little bit of metaverse and how exactly the testing of metaverse would happen, it's time for me to introduce the next speaker who would do a deep dive on testing the metaverse and presenting a framework for the metaverse. Our next speaker is Dr. Shankar Ramamoorthy. Dr. Shankar is an extremely passionate individual. Personally, have known him for at least 2 decades, and he has brought in always, a very, very thorough and a influential and an academic perspective to a lot of aspects in the future technologies. Dr. Shankar is an IT evangelist. He has spent 3 decades in managing business excellence through quality control and assurance. He has led business assurance initiatives by serving in various leadership roles, and he has inspired a number of team members. And for inspiration, I can certainly vouch because I remember in STC 2018, he made all of us take an oath, which all the testers would follow, and he gave us all the 10 rules of what a tester should live by as an oath, which was a very interesting session, and I still recollect that. So today he's going to talk about what's the framework for testing metaverse, and he's presenting his thoughts on testing metaverse with Web 3.0. Without any much further ado, let me welcome Dr. Shankar onto the stage and present his point of view.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Dr.
Thank you very
Shankar.
much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pradeep. Long time. It is seeing you after a long
Seriously,
time.
sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
In
I
fact,
also, after a long time, and love to hear your voice, a booming voice. We certainly are not
okay.
taking vote today, but then we certainly will do everything that is necessary. Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah, yeah. I think Pradeep. When I hear Pradeep, I get almost like energized, and as soon as the STC comes, I always have something for Pradeep and STC. So it's like a release. I do as it's a yearly sprint, a last sprint to be defined, but I call it as a yearly sprint. So Pradeep, you'll be wondering. I have decided what is the next topic for next year. That's the way I have
Okay.
planned.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Thank you,
I
sir.
will. Yeah, thank you very much. So
Over to you.
thank you, QA. Yeah, yeah. Is my screen visible? Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, now it is visible, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, so I'm going to, but after hearing Subaya, I feel that the all has been told type. So maybe I have to tell the story in a little different way or in a little foundational way. But I will still take courage to tell what I want to tell. But I must thank Mutaya for almost covering everything of what I wanted to say. But I was I'm trying to do a little. I'll not say different, but I'm going to take you all through some evolution because putting a framework suddenly right on your face may not be the right idea. So I thought let's all, because we could be having audience who are millennials who have started their career with 2.0 and above. We would be having old people like me experiencing web 1.0. So I thought let's put all the three webs right in front of you. So ladies and gentlemen, when you see the web 1.0, it was very consumers were struggling to locate information. It was the beginning of algorithms getting scanned through website, and that's a time in the 1990s or the late 80s when I joined the industry. It was a web 1.0, but then we all would have seen sometime in early 2000 the JavaScript came, the CSS3 came, the web 2.0 started making its impact. Social networks were coming in place. Content was becoming more a flourishing asset, and web inventors were you know, trying to pioneer, a lot of technologies in Web 2.0. But then it all happened very sudden, like the industry 4.0 went to 5.0. Web also started inching, I'll not even say hinching, it started moving into a realm because, I would say the industry 4.0 and 5.0 enabled the web 2.0 to go to 3.0. And that's exactly where, we started seeing AI, machine learning, and as rightly told by Subaya, blockchain providing smart applications. So blockchain becomes the underpinning for the whole Web 3.0. And we will, I'll not take much time because it's only half an hour. I have got some 14 slides So I have to do justice to every slide. So this slide is primarily to tell that we have come a long way and we are experiencing Web 3.0, but it's not done. As rightly said, it's still in the on the cards and a lot of developments are happening. So I found this information very important that from Deloitte, the source is, so where are we? When we are in web as an evolutionary point, are we saying that we have completed all the stages of growth? Yes. When we started, we were mainframe, then we went to PCs, then stage three was web, stage four was mobile, and stage five is where we are today. So the social media, the smacks, the revolution, all that is over in stage four, and web started in stage three. So if I were to put the whole context setting, it's a Web 3.0 at the stage five. But believe me, I'll be talking if everything goes well. Stage six, which is a spatial web, which is the next evolution, but we will not talk this time. But that's how the whole digital interaction is happening and intersection is happening with people. Slide 4. So just to brush up the concepts, because after Subhaya speaking, I'm sure the audience understands what is Metaverse, what is Web 3.0. I was seeing people in many companies talking and taking them in the same breath. So I thought I should have a couple of slides talking about the concept of Metaverse. So Metaverse is a 3D digital simulation of every facet, every aspect, every entity which you see in the real world. That means you can create a virtual world out of what you see, feel in an immersive way. That's the best definition. But then before delving deeper into framework, into hardware and software, I think the fundamental foundation binding block between these two technologies is the blockchain. And I'm sure many of the presenters will be talking about this distributed ledger. I could see many presentations around that. So I'm not going to tell what is blockchain, but I'm going to tell that blockchain is going to bind metaverse and Web 3.0. But then you may ask, in contrast to the conventional methods, what did blockchain do? Blockchain removed the middleman. It brought about a decentralized aspect to all our transaction. And decentralization became the heart and soul of Web 3.0. And that's the reason when we talk about the Web 3.0 and the frameworks, we were hearing Subhaya talking about peer-to-peer data file storage, smart contracts getting automated. I was taking notes. I think he talked about interoperability, a new experience coming in terms of doing testing from a standpoint of not only storing the data but also making sure the data stored is true, integral, and with full of integrity. So this is just the definition part. Let me move on. I also found that when I was trying to understand this framework and I was looking at websites like 101 Blockchain, there were a lot of confusion between the non-fungible tokens and the metaverse. So I thought there should be one slide to tell on the criteria, foundation, origin, and usability. How does the NFT look different from the metaverse? We must remember that NFT is just a representation of an asset and its ownership on the blockchain. So blockchain is there, which is binding metaverse and web is interactive, and NFT is a asset representation in terms of ownership. But metaverse is a larger 3D internet. So when you talk about an internet, it was 2D in Web 2.0. The internet has become three-dimensional. That means you were seeing the internet, now you are inside the internet. That's the thing. You are able to interact with the internet. So you were an observer to the internet. You were away from the internet, but watching it, browsing it. Now you are inside the internet, and that's metaverse. NFT is more of a CryptoPunks, a token system. 2017 we had, but remember, metaverse is a very different concept altogether. It has come from the science fiction novel of 1996, okay, and all the things which we see are from science fiction for all you know. The usability of an NFT is more in terms of accessibility, okay, whether you're able to access the NFT marketplace. But here in a metaverse, you are trying to access through all your AR, VR, MR gadgets, your HMDs, you have your virtual reality. I'll not talk about these terms because you must be aware of this by now, because AR, VR anyway became very popular, and then for some reason it couldn't take off, but Metaverse is pumping it to become more hot now. I know a time when people were talking about Oculus and Microsoft acquiring, many things were happening. So the benefits of an NFT is all about conventional precedence to the asset ownership. So when you say NFT, it's all about, like, you are a good singer, you can have NFT. You are a good player, you can have NFT tokens, and you can trade it, something like that. But here we are talking about the way in which you use and interact the internet. So you may ask, I have found the differences, and what's the similarity? The similarity of Metaverse and Web 3.0 is, that's why it's still in the development stage. So you can try the whole Google. I've read almost all possible books in this, but then I could not find one single literature which is saying that it's all over, it's defined, it's a done deal. Because as we speak, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, they're all working on the Metaverse platform. So I thought, in this biggest conference in Asia, why not start talking about it, so that by the next year, when it comes, as rightly told, we will have even STC in Metaverse. So that could be the dream come true. So there is no role for a large organization in terms of saying that we are Metaverse. And there are some companies say, I'm a Metaverse as a service, MAAS. Okay, but then the fact of the matter is, because it is heavily dependent on blockchain and NFT, and these are the two technologies which are, like a kind of a digital object driving it. So Metaverse virtual applications, which we saw in earlier presentation, whether it's at work, play, socializing, education, is still on the development stage. Some are actually developed, and there are companies doing that. We will talk about it in the subsequent slide. So the similarities are discussed. But then I thought, when we talk about similarities, there are, why I'm spending time in bringing the differences, because if you talk about a Web 3.0, you say it's blockchain, it's the decentralized apps, it is the decentralized finance, DeFi, or a decentralized autonomous organization. So these are the underlying technologies of Web 3.0. But when we go to the metaverse, it is all about engagement. How are the users getting engaged to the future internet, and how the internet has become, or the web has become, more semantic. That means users are controlling it rather than few companies controlling it. So the engine of Web 3.0, though it works on blockchain and dApps and DeFis and DAOs, you must remember that there is a democratic way of playing in this internet. So when I talk about a metaverse, I'm talking about that no one owns it, everyone owns it. So that means that's you're slowly moving from few owning it to everyone owning it, and that is the crux of this whole metaverse journey. This slide of 8 is very important. I had taken cues from the Ericsson's case study of Sandbox. So you'll ask, how does the metaverse whole, we'll talk about development first and then testing, work. Here it's more about use places. So that's not, that's as rightly told by the earlier speaker. There's nothing called requirement here, it's experience. So there's nothing called use case here, it is use place. Let's learn about this. So in this slide, I'm talking about a community-driven metaverse platform called Sandbox. Okay, Sandbox from Ericsson team. I saw that case study. I thought that should be the right one to introduce. They are talking about a sand utility token based on the ERC, Ethereum, that whatever the proprietary tool is, and they are trying to supply 3 billion sands. And this platform is an Ethereum blockchain, and it gives you a huge economic value. Okay, but the traditional systems payment happens through PayPal or something. But here you're trying to create assets and even experiences, as told by the earlier speaker, To attain an economic value, it is assets and experiences. And more important is the entire metaverse blockchain use cases is throwing up a new economic model where anyone who has a developed foreground or a background intellectual property can monetize it. I'll spend some more time on that. See, when I'm talking about a monetary token in a blockchain or Ethereum, I'm talking about assets which are traded, okay? Like a typical, a digital immutable aura being traded. But here, what we are trying to do is the creator can list a digital garment on an Ethereum based NFT site like OpenSea and trade those garments out of the sandbox, which is that whole system, and any other metaverse based Ethereum. That means you have got different metaverse heterogeneous systems on different blockchain. You got a garment, you want to trade it. This trading can happen around an NFT. And the value proposition of this trading is that you own it, number one. You are moving your whole assets in terms of money. Like, for example, there's a movie theater in the world that's driving traffic of the movie theater by offering some NFTs for movie people. So you go and you purchase tickets for them, and then you are having a digital or digi-physical or physi-digital type of an approach of a growing opportunity. So here, the fact of the matter is, Metaverse is creating a series of use cases which are physical use places. So when we talk about testing something on Metaverse, as we found, whether it is the green screen testing, which was we talked about, or experience testing, or ground testing, whatever examples were talked about, these are all use places which we need to talk about. Let's go to the framework. Okay. So this is the whole 3.0 metaverse framework. This was also covered in the form of layers by the earlier speaker. I'll go a little deeper in terms of looking at technically 5 layers. So I'm on the base of this framework is the device and the components, and all these devices, these modems, the chips, are on the IoT sensory layer, connected by your telco operators, your Verizon, AT&T. So you have your telecom service provider or TSPs or whatever. And then this is very important, the platform. So the platform of this whole Web 3.0 metaverse could be a cloud platform as a service, or an application store where you have your apps, or the operating system which runs between your hardware and software, and the graphical middleware. So there are 4 types of platforms which you can see. Apart from that, the edge computing or the edge streaming platform, the NVIDIA of the world, the NG Focus of the world, and the AWS, which will serve as an IaaS, infrastructure as a service, and the CPU, GPUs of the world, which you're seeing through AMDs and Intels and Qualcomm and all. So see the whole game platform. There is a cloud pass, there is a CPU, GPU, there's an application store, there's an IaaS, there is again, all these platforms are having a blockchain infrastructure where you have either an Ethereum, or you have a different I would say different blockchain communities working in that particular space. The top layer is where the monetization happens, the application content is driven, and you can see the top layer, the centralized metaverse applications. I'm sure Fortnite, many of you would have heard about, Roblox, you could have heard about, Minecraft, you would have heard about. These are some of the very powerful metaverse applications. And the decentralized applications, also the sandbox, which we're talking now, and some of the decentralized applications are also shown there in terms of the logo. And then there is a proprietary payment gateway through PayPal, Visa, Smart Card also fueling this, and the NFT business fueling this. So this is net the whole framework. Still being developed, but at least for the sake of understanding, this is the start of the framework. This is slide 9 is important. Slide 10 is equally important because if this is the framework, I'm going to tell how do we test it. So I have created, unlike the earlier experience, I'm not going to test the experience layer. I'm going to test the blockchain layer. Then I'm going to test the value layer. Okay, this is a layer I gave a name. Many of the literature also has this name. and application layer. Now, these are the three layers. So the traditional technology enablement, which was happening, friends, was more on the how we were trying to build a metaverse experience through Fortnite or Minecraft or Roblox. But again, the testing was heavily interdependent from the blockchain layer. So from the blockchain layer, I would have a Cardano or a EOS. I will be checking whether my tokens are running on these blockchains. The payment wallets are getting loaded. The token and the exchange and the NFTs are using my use marketplaces. My application layer will host this metaverse on the decentralized sandbox, which you saw in the earlier diagram. Decentralized sandbox is here at the top, if you see that, on the application content monetization. So I'm testing first the top layer, which is the content layer, the value layer, and similarly, I am going to check the application layer. So in the application layer, when I am going to have my SAND token, I'm going to check my underlying Ethereum blockchain. I'm going to check whether how is the payments being done, how is the market winners been identified, how many of the payments have been traditional, what are the new types of network, and if it is a 5G, I would have to test it with the 5G. So
Dr.
here,
Shankar, Dr.
yeah.
Shankar, one quick request from the audience: if you could put the slides in the present mode, so they can see it,
Oh, okay.
but
Oh,
they are not
sorry,
able
sorry,
to see
sorry.
it.
Oh, very
No
sorry.
worries. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So then they should have seen this slide a little better. Okay. This is one slide. Second one. Yeah, I'm in the third one. So apart from testing the three layers, the next test they should do is they should have a testing with your immutability checks of blockchain ownership. I'll call it as ownership testing. Then they should learn how to do the protocol testing. I have got some good articles, but again, half an hour we cannot share much. Then the hardware testing using the 3D VR or the 2D mobile phone or art gallery. We saw one of the gallery tests right now, and the wallet test. How do you do the wallet test using a specific long digital address? So now, so we are seeing 2, 3 areas of testing, 6 layers, and 3 to 4 key use cases and use places. And initially, I was spending time on what's the difference between both of them. Now, why are we doing this discussion today? We're doing this discussion today because the economy which is going to be created, as Pradeep rightly said in the opening talk, is going to be very, very different creator economy. It's going to be very different. And I'll tell you why it's going to be different is that the traditional institutions saw blockchain-based currencies, but where high volatility was there, and they were trying to go to more centralized control mechanisms in the earlier places. But now, if you see the new blockchain payments and gateways, if you see the new blockchain payment and gateways, the technology systems have changed a lot. In fact, if you have to, see that the user experience, which was there when I spoke about multi-user experience in my last keynote, we were not able to democratize access to all the users. So here I'm able to give my entire UX to all the end users, number one. Number two, the serious problem which I was facing is how to ensure a long-term value for all the transactions we do. For example, the tokens seem to be doubling or halving based on one tweet. So, for example, it's like Pradeep for us in the testing group is like an evangelist, and Pradeep says testing is dead tomorrow morning. So you can understand that the entire testing NFT token value will be not even half; it will become zero. So that's the power of an influencer. So one tweet of an influencer can impact the token value. So that's another thing. You need to do those sensitivity analysis in your testing, if then else and all. And the third one is very simple. You have to do decentralized, centralized testing exchange. It's called DESX Sensex. So I have created some framework, but that we can discuss maybe later. The last area, this is my last slide, is that we can have a mix of public and private blockchain for all the future metaverse experience. So I will be having a metaverse use place. I will have private blockchains I'll have public blockchains. I can use the combination of your digital twin. That means I will, as rightly told by the earlier speaker, I will post my twin inside the metaverse. The other twin will be outside the metaverse. I'll have my IoT sensors sending information. I will transmit it on a 5G or a 6G high power network, and I can do what is called as a circumlocutory test. Circumlocutory test is something which I have conceived in this blockchain, where it will start from a 2.0 origin point, and then enter the 3.0 metaverse, and then enter the blockchain world, do the testing of the assets, and then come back and give a report or something like that. But when I talk to you, Open Metaverse Alliance or NVIDIA's Universal Scheme Descriptions are doing a lot of work around this. The asset which has been recorded on a blockchain has become interoperable, which is cross-platform, which we have discussed in a larger section for all practical purposes. We have also been seeing the blockchain assets are becoming more and more important, and interoperability between the public blockchain and the private blockchain is something which the new economy will be creating. So this is precisely what I wanted to share, that what is metaverse, what is Web 3.0, some myths getting decoded and solved, similarities and differences, and this is the most important framework. So the testing framework will be operating on a payment layer, top, or an application layer, second, platform testing, third, connectivity testing, fourth, and the devices and component testing, fifth. So this is like the like your this five with the punch like the punch shield, the five elements which I have decided a tester in any community should focus on for this particular organization. With that, I would like to stop here, and if there are some questions, I would like to take. Yeah, thank you very much.
That's very nice of you, sir. So thanks a lot again for giving a little more detail than what Subaya has provided, and I think jointly, both of you have kind of answered the very question of metaverse and what testers should really be prepared about and what they should be really be doing in it.
Right,
But as always, every new area has its own challenges, every new area has its own issues, and every new area will take some time before it gets settled in as a new norm for all of us. But certainly, and I certainly do like the comment of me being an influencer. I certainly am not at an Elon Musk level and that I can influence the Dogecoin. But then the interest that there are societal elements that also would play into this kind of a new creator economy is also very inspiring and very much refreshing, because a lot of times, a talk in testing conference would focus largely on the technicalities of it. So I really like the way you mix some of the technicalities with the business side of things and then try to show us a complete picture of the metaverse, just like Subaya did. Subaya inspired us. You gave us the specificity, which is actually really interesting for us. But
thank you.
in interest of the time, there are not many questions at the moment. I think it's sinking into everyone, and they're trying to understand how to go about. But I'm sure there will be more questions as the conference progresses. There are quite a few advanced talks as well on this particular topic. But really, thank you, Dr. Shankar, for taking time. As always, it's a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you very much, Pradeep. Thank you very much. And thank you all
My
for a
pleasure, sir.
patient listening, and have a nice day.